Hello and welcome to Aquarium Dilemmas. I'm your host, ScienceGal Aquatics. I'm Kerri, and this is my co-host,
Jesse, and welcome.
Yes, thank you for watching or listening. Thank you for however way you found this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. I'll put it that way.
He's always got to put it better. But this episode is going to be a good one, I feel like. We're going to talk about how we feed our fish aquariums.
Well, and feeding is very important.
Yes.
And having some sort of schedule, whatever schedule, and for the variety of fish you have. So we'll kind of start there.
Yeah, you start off, because you say I always talk over you, so you start off.
Well, we primarily keep live bearers, all different types of live bearers.
Yes.
And we do have my favorite fish, the silver arowana. So that is obviously.
Yes, we do have a wide range of sizes of fish. And I will have to say, currently, we don't have the most experience in cichlids, but I have kept them in the past. So I do know a little bit about their diet.
Yeah, well, and just they're starting off, keeping a variety of fish. You're going to have a different schedule for feeding that different variety of fish to start with.
Yes, and I know in the past, I 100%, especially in the beginning, all the way up to probably more recent than I care to share, the staple and really the only food that I really thought about was fish flakes. And I would always go, it was our grocery store. I would go to the grocery store, get the cheapest fish flake, and I would feed them fish flakes by the handfuls. And did the fish, I mainly had guppies then too, and snails. Let me tell you, the snails populated fantastic. They reproduced nonstop. But because I fed way too much and I did not feed enough variety, and I wasn't aware that there was so many different options of fish food out there on the market. I mean, you've got, of course, flakes. And again, I will say flakes are still my staple. It's probably what I feed the most of, but I definitely feed a lot more foods than just flakes. Because the fish they lived, but they could have lived a longer life. They could have had a more vibrant color. They probably could have reproduced even more. And a lot of it, I was just feeding them just one food all the time is not good for fish or you.
Well, while we're sitting down here talking, I'm looking over, you got a bag of churros.
Yeah, I got my sweets.
Well, nobody's going to want to eat churros every day for the rest of their life. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that probably would.
those are cinnamon. I mean, they're sweet.
I'm sure somebody out there probably would.
Yeah, coffee goo on the insides.
However, for a balanced diet, human, fish, dog, cat, doesn't matter. You got to have a little bit of variety. I mean, it goes from protein down to vegetables, everything. And even flakes, they can have all that different in it. You just have to read and research and kind of know what and try different things because your fish, I know certain ones of your tanks, some fish prefer one type of flake over a different type.
Oh, you can definitely spoil a fish to a particular food, and it's always the expensive kind too. But even saying a staple still today, it's not the food. I don't feed flakes every day, all day anymore, but it's probably still one that I feed at least once a week. But even with my flakes, I don't have just the same kind. I have spirulina flakes and Tetra flakes, and I mean, there's just all different kinds. There's cichlid veggie formulas. I mean, there's all different kinds of flakes just looking behind me, and all the ones I have upstairs. So there's all different kinds, and it's just, even with just flakes, there's a variety out there that I think you shouldn't just fall in that habit that I did where I fed one brand of flakes It was the cheapest one I could possibly find. I did not care what was in it. I never looked at the ingredient list. It was just fish food. And then on top of that, I overfed it so bad.
Well, and I know we've nailed that. I mean,
yes,
a million times.
We've talked about that, but
it does. It spoils your fish, makes too much waste, ruins your nitrogen cycle. The list goes on and on and on. However, if you can get on some sort of schedule to feeding less more often, then you can really, if you are, it's your first fish tank and you're really enjoying it and you love feeding your fish, which everybody loves feeding their fish, me included, then feed more often but less.
Yes.
That way you can try more different foods to see what your fish in particular really likes and what is really helping your fish either color up, grow, all of the above.
Yeah, my point, I guess, I agree with you 100%. 100%. It's just, I don't think that you shouldn't feed your fish flakes if they enjoy it. I just think that you should feed more things with it. If you only have 2 bottles of fish food in your fish room for your fish, one should probably, in my opinion, from my experience, be a bottle of flakes and another one be something that maybe you're willing to rotate. Maybe you're wanting to try pellets or wafers. And then even with your fish food, your fish flakes, try spirulina ones and then go back to the tetra, I can't remember off the top of my head, they're tetra multicolored ones. And even with that, there's organic ones that are all just kind of more of a, I think they're a brownish color. And then they have color enhancing ones. And then they have ones that's supposed to break down fat. There's just all different ones to try. I just don't think you should stick with the same one all the time, is my point.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I agree. And I feel that if you're wanting to get on a schedule of, okay, I'm going to feed twice a day, then let's feed.
He's all about the schedule, and I'm trying to talk about the types of food. We're talking about 2 different things.
Well, but it relates. Because,
it does relate.
Because then you can vary it. You can feed the flakes in the morning, a granular or pellet type substance in the evening when you get home from work or whatever. So you're getting to interact with your fish more, and you're getting to see kind of what's going on and what they really enjoy.
Yeah.
So you're still having that interaction with your tank, and you're learning something about your fish's diet all while you're doing it.
Well, just
even subconsciously to a point.
The first thing that I started, I don't even know what period it was. It was still kind of like in the middle of fish keeping once I kind of became aware that there was other foods. And I don't even think there is as many foods then as there is now. But each fish does, I mean, there are tanks out there that are community tanks that every fish in there likes the same food and is on the same schedule. And that probably took planning, and it wasn't a spontaneous tank. But now I've learned that different fish need different things. And sometimes even with the fish that you keep inside your tank need different schedules too. And there's so many different foods out there. Like I said, again, there's wafers and pellets and freeze dried and live foods and frozen foods and all. I mean, there's all different kinds to choose from. And it was just like this big epiphany moment when I'm like, oh, wow.
Well, you got floating, you got sinking,
you got slow sinking, and then small, medium, and large. I mean, you've got all these, and I'm the type of person, if I have too many choices, I won't make any choice at all. So when I get a new fish in that maybe I might have heard of it, or maybe I haven't heard of it, the first thing I really kind of go to in my research is what they require, or whatever I can find or talk to someone who might know what they require for food, because you can't just have one bottle of fish food and it works for everything. I've learned from experience now that even with like plecos was one of the, or plecostomus, that was one of the one fish I kept that I've probably made the most mistakes with feeding because I just assumed that they were bottom feeders. They just cleaned up my other fish's waste. I didn't need to feed them. They just were my cleaning crew. And I would always get them to this magical little, like, size of my hand, and they would always pass away, and I would never understand, like, what I was doing wrong until I researched their diet. And even with their species, some require more veggies, and some require more meat, and some require driftwood for rasping. You just have to do your research and know, because it is, even with that one species, is dependent on which one you get. And you need to do your research to know that you're meeting their nutritional needs so they have the best potential to grow and live on top of tank size and water parameters, meeting their nutritional needs and not just feeding them fish flakes is really important. And it was something that I made that mistake for so long. It's really important to know what you're keeping and how to feed it, because I'm not the biggest fan of feeding live foods, because it's not something that I think that I have to do with the fish I keep. But I do understand that there's some fish out there that are especially wild caught fish. That's what they're used to. You can't bring them in an aquarium and just expect them to accept fish pellets, Well,
they've never seen a fish pellet.
Yeah. So, and I know with the silver arowana, there was a phase too where I was like, well, we'll try the feeder fish thing. But then I did research, and I've learned that they are high in thiamines, and it's the same thing that makes you sleepy after eating turkey, and they don't process it well. So there's other ways to meet that nutritional need without feeding feeder goldfish. And Jesse really, that's his tank, and that he'll probably talk about all about it, but he likes to go outside and feed it. We have a wood chip pile that have ginormous earthworms, and we have huge crickets in the backyard. And it's not necessarily feeder goldfish, because that's not healthy, but it's something that he enjoys. And
well, it's live food, and it also brings a different element of feeding him something different with a different nutritional value for him, whether it be grasshoppers, crickets, earthworms. I am not overfeeding him this, and that is a treat. He gets one every so often, and I always change it up.
And I am to be honest, super worried about internal parasites and everything like that. But I know with the puffers, I've kept puffers here and there throughout the years, and they require snails. And with snails, especially the ones we get out of our pond outside, I would often treat them for internal parasites along with the snails. So it's species specific. And I know we kept a freshwater lionfish for a while, and it would not eat anything but feeder. We have rosy red minnows in the pond that we got from PetSmart years ago that honestly, they don't even look like the same fish. They're quadrupled in size. They've kind of reverted back to the natural brownish color, and to me, I feel like they're better than just the ones that you get from the fish store. But there for a while, that's all that fish would eat until we finally got them to get some bloodworms, some frozen bloodworms. So I guess the point of this tangent is it's really important to know what your fish you're choosing to keep needs, so you can even build that routine. And like I said, there's so many different foods on the market. And then on top of that, you can also, I know with constipation, I like to feed frozen peas, and there's zucchini slices that the large pleco upstairs likes. And so there's, even if you don't have fish food per se, you run out, there's still ways that you can feed your fish.
Well, and even going back to the live thing for just a second, you feed Fry, you fed him live baby brine shrimp. I mean, their live food varies from very large. When you start talking about feeding live food,
it's just like everything. There's so many different ones.
Well, it throws people off. And I know it's a controversial topic, but predatory fish enjoy live food. And that's what they're used to, and that's what they need basically to survive.
Well, the best things ever is if you choose to breed fish outside like we do in the summertime, and kind of, we can sometimes get by with it late spring, or I guess spring and like early fall, summer, whatever. That was not very finely worded, but those months, we're really lucky because there's so many live foods in the tubs that honestly we can't probably even see. And if you move the floating plants with just like your fingertip, there's all these little floating jumpy bugs that are so fine. They're like pinpoints, just the end of a needle. They're so tiny. And the fish devour them. We've had, like I said, the rosy red minnows, the white clouds, mosquito fish, guppies, mollies, rice fish. We've kept a few things outside, and we don't even have to feed them because everything in those tubs that are live food, in the sense of it's live things. It's not, it's some of that stuff is, I get more fry breeding outside because of that food source that's just really hard. I can hatch frozen brine shrimp, and I've gotten better at it, but it's still
hatch baby brine shrimp.
Yeah, you get it.
If you hatch frozen brine shrimp, I would really enjoy. I would love to know this.
I'm trying to think and talk at the same time, and I think I can do this at each week. I don't know, but you can freeze the leftovers. They have like those silica. I have some upstairs, but they're like teeny tiny, like Sonic ice size, like little teeny tiny ice cubes. Silicone trays that you can freeze. And I was like, but I never have. I always end up feeding them all. But that live food, it's just really, it's so good if you choose to breed outside. Well, and I get more fry, and the fry grow up and they look better. The color's better. If you have the weather and the climate to do so, going back to the live food, it's just amazing. There's just so much.
Well, you can't beat it. From the microorganisms all the way up to the big larvae that will accumulate in your outside tubs. It's a plethora of things that the fish absolutely enjoy, and it's what nature intended for it to happen. And it works so well. But that's what I meant with the live food, though, was everybody always thinks you're feeding feeder goldfish, minnows, things like that. No, it can be down to the small stuff like baby brine shrimp, live baby brine shrimp you're feeding.
Or Daphnia or something like that.
There's a lot of other live food out there.
I've tried a
for
few
all
different
varieties of fish.
I've tried a few different cultures of worms. There's like vinegar eels and banana worms. I've only seen black worms in person once. It's not something I've tried, but there's, even in the live, your point, like even in the live, whether it's flakes, live, frozen, pellets, wafers, freeze dried, whatever the avenue you choose to feed your fish, there's a lot of different options. And I just mainly look for if it meets their nutritional needs and if it's high in good proteins that I'm looking for. And I like bug bites because it's got insect larvae in it. I like their spirulina flakes because it's got the algae, the protein that I'm looking for. I like to feed, like I said, frozen peas every once in a while if I see constipation. And the Plecostomus really like vegetables. And I know the guppies, they don't really turn down anything. So there's just, always do your research. Try to meet the best you can their nutritional needs. Feed a wide variety. Get a few different types, whether you want to try a fast-seeking pellet or a granule and mix it with some flavor. And then if you have a nocturnal fish, like I did.
That's where I was going next.
I've had nocturnal fish, and I just assumed you make these. You have these moments where you're like, why did I think that was such a good idea at that time? I don't even know. I would have nocturnal fish, and I would want to watch them. And I always think of the black featherfin knife fish that I had for a long time. It was nocturnal. It did not see well. It did not appreciate this uber bright light that I had on this tank, and I would get so mad when it wouldn't want to come out to eat. But then I realized great things happen when you simply turn off the light and feed them a little later in the day or in the evening, and then sit back, don't spook them. And I really got to know that fish because I took the time to get to know that fish. And it was something just so simple like that. And if you choose to keep something that's nocturnal in a community tank, that's probably when you're going to have to feed twice a day, maybe once when the lights are on for your guppies or live bears or whatever you choose to keep. And then if you want some bottom dwellers that are more nocturnal, then you'll probably have to feed them at nighttime when the lights are off and everything else is resting. And then you won't have so much competition of everything trying to. Plus, if that's not what they want, but they're only eating it to keep themselves alive, that's not good either. So,
well, and I'll go to the regular Plecostomus on this deal. Mm-hmm. He or she does not like the light. It's in the tank with silver arowana, so competition for food, anything you drop in there, the arowana, it goes.
It appreciates some nighttime. It's
absolutely nuts. So the arowana gets fed a little extra. However, it's spread out throughout the day when I go to feed the pleco, because I want that sinking pellets and that sinking wafers or the vegetable that I'm trying to get down to the bottom of the tank for it to get down there to it. So I feed the arowana a little bit, because as soon as anything hits the water, it's game on.
Yes. Well, and I love plecos. I love Plecostomus. I always call them plecos. But this common one, and this is why they say do your research and know what you're getting, because that thing, it likes vegetables, yes, but it prefers meat. It's a meatier one. And that's the reason why I lost that knife fish, because it went after that knife fish's eye. And so that's why I say even with plecos or Plecostomuses, there's some don't require so much meat, but some do, some crave it, and they will go after other fish to meet that need. And I just assumed for so long, like I did in so many mistakes that I've made in the past, that they just clean up your tank. And yes, they might help clean up your tank, but they're going to create so much waste in your tank that it's going to outweigh what they cleaned. So and another one that I made a lot of, and now I have driftwood. Now I know some don't require as much for rasping, but others do. And just to be safe, I put it in all my tanks now. But yeah, I've just made so many mistakes with them. And thinking back, just a little bit of research would have done me good.
Well, it's pretty easy to make a mistake with a Plecostomus, because you have 9 million different L varieties. They don't even have names for them. It's just L235.
The ones that
L221, 22.
They have L names because they're waiting, and it's by their my mind just went blank. It comes from the scientific nomenclature. They have like a kingdom, a phylum, a family, a species name, a genus, and the L number is when they're not officially named yet. So once they get officially named and probably get some good old-fashioned paperwork and a name, then they don't go by those L numbers anymore. But it does get confusing, and it seems like I don't know any of them.
The point of it is every one of them has a different variety. A normal Plecostomus versus a bristlenose is a completely different variety of
that's anything.
Eating.
I mean.
But that also goes with every fish you keep in a tank. If you have a community tank, that is the point.
Yes. Was there anything? I guess is there anything else that you want to say on that? I was going to kind of move on to routine stuff, like what we do in a day, unless you.
Well, the main thing is if you're having a community tank going into your routine and scheduling, you're going to have more times of feeding different things.
Yeah.
Because if you have a wide variety of fish, you're going to have a wide variety of diet.
Well, if you plan it out and you're responsible and you're like, okay, all of these fish that I want to keep a community tank that's heavily planted. They all eat the same type of thing. Then yes, it can 100% work. But if you want to keep some things that are on different schedules and require different things, then yeah, you need to provide that so it stays healthy and everything grows to its fullest potential, because I've made so many mistakes, and plecos have been probably the ones that suffered the most, but my goldfish, they've suffered too for a long time, and it's embarrassing to talk about, but I feel like if I share all these mistakes I've made, then hopefully you won't.
That's why
make
it's
them.
an aquarium dilemma. It's the dilemma because you didn't know.
I didn't know that they required so much. They really require insect larvae, and that's the reason I like feeding them bug bites. I know from seeing the mosquito fish and the fish outside how much they enjoy mosquito larvae, the real stuff. But it's just hard for me to bring in and scoop up mosquito larvae. And that's why there's always fish keepers out there that are better than me, because they're willing to bring in mosquito larvae into their house on purpose. I have purposely brought in roaches, the Nubia roaches, to feed. So I have done something that's not, when you call your mom and you're like, Mom, I'm so excited because I bought roaches and I purposely brought them in my house, that you get weird looks. But I haven't quite got there for mosquito larvae. But from seeing it outside the tubs, I know they eat it up. And betas, they really like insect larvae. And for me personally, one of my go-tos is bug bites because they have insect larvae in it. But whatever you choose, just look at that ingredient label, just like the foods. I'm learning to look at ingredient labels.
Just like going to the grocery store and buying something for yourself to eat. You should probably look at the label and see what you're ingesting.
Yeah, you might want to look at what you're ingesting too. No, I'm joking. I want to try this mosquito larva. Jesse, how do you like it?
Well, I'm not ingesting mosquito larvae on purpose.
You're not?
On purpose. I probably have by accident, but not on purpose.
But I guess the only thing other that like I said, I say this all the time. There's so many things that come to mind after we stop talking about it, but really is just after you decide on what foods you want to keep and what you want to feed and offer, is really just getting to know that tank and that fish or fish that you keep, and then coming up with the best schedule. And the biggest epiphany for me, again, because there's so many I have, is you don't have to feed the fish every time you walk across the room, or every time you walk past the aquarium, or whatever it is. You don't have to feed them tons and handfuls of food. And in nature, they don't get offered fish flakes and fish pellets all the time, every time they come to the front of the glass, because they look so cute. So I've learned I do feed the aquariums at least once a day, especially when I am trying to ramp up breeding. But if you have to go out of town a week, or you want to feed them every other day and they're smaller fish, they're gonna be okay. Just if you want to try to go every other day and see if that works for them. And okay, my tank still stays balanced. They eat all the food within 15 seconds, but not 30 seconds. And they seem to be really good if I feed them maybe every other day, or maybe some fish do better if you feed them twice a day, smaller amounts. It's just really just comes down to the tank, the fish, and you.
Yes. And I think it also comes down to, besides it comes down to the amount you're feeding. If you do choose to feed every day, you might want to back down the amount you're giving to not obviously mess up your cycle and everything else. And that way you still get the feeling of that interaction with the fish without destroying the ecosystem. I mean, in Mother Nature, do you think they eat all the time? Really?
I mean,
they're going to try. Don't get me wrong. They're going to try to eat all the time.
When I first kept fish, yes. And I know the routine for the larger fish. We do feed them a lot more often than we do the smaller guppies and live bears in the fish room. I don't really feel comfortable going more than like a day or two without feeding them. And the handful at the time is generally larger. But it's a 2+ foot fish. So if you're keeping monster fish, we've kept largemouth bass in the past and different types of monster larger fish, they're generally going to be fed more. You're going to have a large variety of things that you're going to feed them, and they're going to grow really large really quickly. But you typically know that going into it. But one of the things I've learned the most on this topic is you can feed fish a lot more variety, feed them less often, and you just don't have to feed them just fish flakes every time you walk past the aquarium.
Oh, 100%. And I'm going with variety. Variety, to me, on all the tanks that you have, from the big boy upstairs, it's my favorite, to all the nano fish or smaller fish, is variety. And they absolutely enjoy it. It makes for a healthy aquarium, a healthy fish, and ultimately it works out in the end. And you get to actually feed more often.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the bottom, just kind of wrapping things up, I feed the guppies and the smaller fish in the fish room a large variety, from flakes, pellets, frozen, hatching, baby brine shrimp. I feed them a variety. I like to feed them at least once a day, a really small amount, and then work up from there. And then with the larger fish, I like to feed them at least every 2 days. I do feed them also a large variety of food, but the helping is a larger amount.
Oh, it's considerable. And again, the bigger fish get accidental special treats.
Yes. And it's fun too, because the live bears, especially, it seems like the platies do it a lot more than anything, but they all do it, but they're always nibbling on the algae. And no matter how clean your tank is, it seems like I always have a little bit, because they are so heavily planted. And it's just kind of cute to see them nibble on that algae. But I do look for a higher quality of proteins in my fish foods than I did in the past. I try to look for really good ingredients. I feel like the frozen foods have less filler products and stuff that you hatch. The live food also is, I feel like in my head, it's naturally a little bit better. But if you have to get flakes, try a different kind next time you go to the store. I feel like it's always a staple. It's something I feed at least once or twice a week, but I do switch it up with all different kinds of food on the in-between, if that makes any sense.
Or even your pellets, flakes, whatever you choose, depending on the variety of fish, obviously, because everything's dependent on the variety of fish, is just read the back of it. It will say
what's in it.
It will say this much protein, but it will tell you the percentages, so you kind of can at least get an idea of where you're going with that feeding of the particular food you're choosing. So you can balance it by buying such and such flake versus such and such pellet, or okay, I'm going to use this flake and I'm going to use this pellet, or or granular, because there's a lot of granular stuff out there for the smaller fish that you can get that's very fine. It's almost pelletized, but I call it granular.
Yeah, there's so many things out there, and it's fun to experiment and try new things, and not every fish is going to like everything, but it's surprising when you find something that you're like, I didn't know you would like that so much. And then you try it again, and then you stumble upon a different food, and you're like, they really like that. It's just fun to experiment with new foods. And one of the biggest I'll say it every time, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is not to overfeed my fish, but to feed them less, a more variety diet. And I will say that all the time for advice. If you want to listen or not, that's my advice. Well,
it's great advice. It's perfect advice.
And they're so
my
cute.
Advice being the cheapskate that I am is if you are switching up your diet on a fish or a new fish and you're trying stuff out, is don't go buy the biggest bottle of it first, the biggest container.
It does expire.
Of it first. Buy something small of that variety you're wanting to try, use it, and see how your fish like it. And then if they do, and it's a hit, great. Then go back and get the big quantity of it.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to use it up quickly and it's not going to expire and all that.
Yeah.
Whether it be frozen, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Because I would get huge bottles of fish flakes, and then I would feed them that for years. And I think they are only good off the top of my head, if I remember, like 3 or 4 months. So if you don't think your fish is going to eat all of that by the expiration date, try a smaller one and then go from there.
Well, that leads back right into the tie-in.
But if like the koi fish outside, or if you've got something that might eat them to where you have a large community tank and you want to feed fish flakes a couple of times a week, but they will eat that entire bottle, then buy the bigger one. It's always dependent on your fish.
It is. And it also makes it easy to do that variety that way if you buy smaller containers of different things to try, so you can spread it out and see exactly what's going on, which in my mind makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And that way they're getting more of a balanced diet for your fish.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that will come to mind after we end this, but I appreciate you listening to this podcast and this episode with us. And I hope that you've taken something away that will help improve your feeding schedule with your fish tank. I really do appreciate you listening. And if you want to watch this, come join the membership over at ScienceGal Aquatics on YouTube.
Yes. And if you would like to check out exactly kind of what we feed for different varieties, please check out the website.
Yes,
check out the website and the care sheets on the fish that we regularly keep all the time, and it will tell you what we enjoy feeding.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Next time.
Thanks.